Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Tech Intersect podcast, where technology meets the law at the crossroads of change and innovation. I'm your host, Dr. Tonya Evans, and today I am thrilled to welcome a very special guest, Adilah Holivay, who is the principal consultant and co-founder of DNA Legacy Blockchain Brokerage, LLC, a firm that is at the forefront of cryptocurrency investigation and blockchain advisory. And with her rich background in financial services, technology, and compliance, Adilah drives transformative solutions in the rapidly evolving Web3 space. She's not only shaping the landscape, but also paving the way for women in blockchain through her role as the Texas Regional Ambassador for the Association for Women in Cryptocurrency. Today, we're going to dive into how she and her team empower organizations to navigate the complexities of digital finance with unparalleled expertise and confidence. And stay tuned until the end of the episode to learn about an exclusive discount on their wallet management consultant services, just for our viewers and listeners. We'll talk about all of that and more in a moment, but first, Adilah, welcome to Tech Intersect.
Thank you, Dr. Evans. Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. Well, I loved our conversation during the Crypto for Harris town hall. It was the first time that we had a chance to connect. We have so many points of connection, so it was wild to me that it took this long for us to become this connected, but I am so delighted that we are in each other's orbit and doing this really, really important work.
It's my pleasure.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the innovations in blockchain. Let's just jump right into the deep end. You are at the forefront of integrating blockchain technology into traditional financial services. I love this bridge between TradFi and decentralized finance, the Web3 economy, and you are really at the forefront of that. So could you share a breakthrough or a project that really exemplifies the potential of blockchain to transform the financial sector?
Oh, wow. You know, I could think of two right now that I'm really digging in and working on. One of which is working with financial institutions to help them overall understand blockchain technology and how blockchain technology can be pivotal for their compliance and risk management programs. And a conversation I just had with the Texas Banking Association, which was last week, I got to the pleasure of speaking with them and talk to them about how this type of technology, blockchain itself, can transform their enterprises by ensuring that it's secure and the records and the data that they're keeping with transactions and wealth management is actually immutable. So just going through that and basically showing them how it all kind of works in a practical use case. First is just throwing around words like cryptocurrency and basically talking about the environment of how all of this is instituted. And then lastly, I'll discuss about the wallet management services and how we've been helping organizations stay compliant, basically putting together opportunities working with my partner Bitwave and allowing them the opportunity to be able to source their wallet management in an accounting system that is kind of like the QuickBooks of cryptocurrency. And that's essentially, by helping them implement this type of technology into their environment, they're able also to keep good record keeping of their crypto and be compliant for when it's time for them to file taxes. And those are some of the initiatives that I've been really working on both ends of the aisle, education and also implementing smart solutions for companies that are already crypto enabled.
It's so important to focus on the compliance aspect, and we talk about it, and it can be a daunting word, let alone a daunting task, particularly when you are in this realm of what self-custody might look like, or the new, not only technology, but also the companies that are helping other companies, organizations to be compliant, and even just understanding what that means. So there's so many challenges to blockchain adoption. I did a show recently where the user experience is still, it's not great. I imagine it's incrementally better. I got into the space in 2017. I think it's incrementally better at best, but certainly not where it needs to be for mass adoption for those outside of kind of like first principles and kind of the OGs in the space and the we have so many new entrants. So I say all that to say the education piece is critically important around compliance, but also getting your ducks in a row, understanding the laws, the jurisdictional ramifications, and also just keeping all of the information organized in a way that's readily accessible when it comes time to meet the moment of compliance. So, can you talk about some of the challenges, some of the significant barriers to blockchain adoption that you've encountered in your advisory roles?
Absolutely. So one of which, like you mentioned, was education, making sure there is a compiled resource that is trusted for organizations to be able to get their hands on. That is one, because this type of technology spreads like a wildfire and it changes daily as much as we can blink our eyes.
Right.
So making sure that we have resources in place, and trusted resources would be our college professors like yourself, professors that are distributing this information, and people who are actually boots on the ground that are able to document the disruption that they're seeing at the forefront, right? So both sides of the aisle needs to be able to communicate. Outside of education, there is communication that is key. There should be now a central system, since we have all of these large companies that are integrating, like the BlackRocks and the Fidelities.
Right.
They're bringing in crypto systems, but we're still working in a siloed system. And that is the problem. We need to open the lines of communication, because it also helps our cybersecurity efforts as well. And misinformation. I feel that there's still a lot of misinformation that is occurring in our media. And it's time for everybody to get on the same page and be able to communicate and spread information appropriately. So basically providing those resources and be able to communicate across parties to ensure that everybody is in alignment. I feel that is the bigger problem, is alignment and communication.
Yeah, it's something that we've addressed at various iterations of the internet, right? So when you think about kind of Web 1.0, and you had this centralized server that was disseminating information to computers, but we weren't speaking to each other. Web 2.0, now we have some, peer-to-peer technology at that time. The information or the packets of information that we were sharing happened to be media files and things of that nature that ushered in user-generated content, et cetera. Now, in the Web3 context, I should say, it's not just about packets of information, but now those packets are value.
Yes,
Right?
that's
That
right.
it's a seismic shift in the way that we not just interact with each other, communicate with each other, and conduct business or be entertained, but the way that we inform the world and also each other. And also from a value exchange point of view. That is a fundamental shift. And what I love, and I actually, let's take a step back and for this next question, I'm going to ask you, and I want to have a rich conversation around women in crypto, women in distributed ledger, both as technologists, but I'm a non-technologist. There's so much to do outside of or in addition to the technology. What brought you to the space? What has your experience been as a woman and a woman of color? And then let's broaden the aperture to also talk about just women in this space as well.
I'm just going to say, Dr. Evans, you really pack it. So
And then after that second hour, right, we'll take a break
next
and
hour,
we'll come back.
exactly.
All right.
But being a woman in the space first,
Yeah.
okay, technology is not new to me. I've spent over the past 15 years, actually, 12 years of that in financial services, but over the course of my career, 15 years in the technology space, working my way up from just understanding it, technology from a business and systems level, to actually being a creator in implementing applications and systems, to also assisting banks with implementing financial systems into their environments. So by technology not being new, it really helped me to jump into crypto. That was just the next step.
Right.
In fact, back in 2017, I was working with digital assets in a sense, because the company I was working with at the time was a ATM company. And this is the time when cloud-based was in session without regulations.
Right.
And we had ATMs across the world that were able to, at the time, they were already utilizing the cryptocurrencies, but we just didn't understand to what level or what magnitude was really going to happen at, and writing requirements for institutions that were going to be utilizing smart automated banking systems. So the technology was already scraping at the side edges of that, but then really stepping into myself and my career and giving myself the opportunity and a chance as a woman, and now as a woman of color, to really run a company and harness my own future without the liability of, sometimes when you stay in these careers, what happens is there is a cognitive disillusion that you have. And I'm the kind of person, I never stop learning. I never stop going. So then if I stay in this role, my growth is going to be hampered. I have something more that I feel that I can contribute to the world. Not being a elitist or anything, just really trying to make change, Right. And as a woman, as a woman of color, I was always in the rooms, but I never got to speak in those rooms.
Right.
And when I empowered myself to take a chance on myself, then I got to speak to people like you. I would never have got to speak in a room to people like you in the roles that I was in, because I'm just behind the scenes. And it's good when you're behind the scenes and you're the smartest person in the room and you're helping making decisions, but you never get to be in the forefront of those decisions. And now it was my chance to do that as a woman. And it hasn't been easy. I'm going to tell the truth.
Right. That's
why I wanted to join the Association of Women for Cryptocurrency, because that is it empowers me to be in a group that allows us to get in the room and have a seat at the table. And that's why, taking my career into all these directions, I feel like now is the time to really be on its trajectory and getting some real changes met and done.
But many things that I love about this industry is because of its decentralized nature and the fact that that's a feature, not a bug, it presents these opportunities where there aren't those systemic barriers to entry. Not for investors, not for consumers or users, and not for builders and innovators, yes. Right? So when you think about the vital work that you're doing to empower women in particular, advocacy for women in crypto, let's talk about some of the initiatives and programs that you've spearheaded and that you've been a part of to increase the participation of women and women of color in leadership in this field.
Absolutely. Well, we had our kickoff here in Texas, in Dallas, for the association, AWIC. And it was exciting because, now we're regulating this across the states and nationally. And it's just basically a representative in your state to be able to help you to understand and navigate cryptocurrency, and also a resource, and not just someone who's just sitting in the back office. This is someone who is out front helping to get questions answered and to bring positive change to the industry in itself. And, all of the engagements that we have with speaking, getting more women in. There's so many women I talk to, and I ask them, have you ever thought about public speaking? I just don't think I could do that. They've already quit. And they haven't even tried. And like you said, this is an opportunity, just space in itself, to create the will the way that we want to see the will. And we want to navigate it the way we want to see it navigated to be.
Right.
And we don't have the same barriers. We don't have to have the same barriers that we once had in all the other industries. We can create something totally new here, and we can create the standard. And that's what I'm ensuring that we're doing. And with that being said, some of the opportunities with that is going to different networking events. You'll be surprised how many of us don't network anymore. How many of us don't find the opportunity in the room just by networking. It's so easy, but we find it sometimes a little ominous because we're talking about work and we're talking about things probably that we're no longer interested in. But just getting together and having a talk with the girls, and then when we talk as women, we find out different things, and then we put those resources into places to be able to help that person. We never know who we'll run into or what we'll encounter. So basically, just networking and also helping to see more women on panels.
Yes.
Some of these women they're not even in the room. I went to a couple of networking events and I didn't see a lot of women, not because they said that women can't be there. It's just that not a lot of women understand the space and they're not getting into it. So basically to empower them to learn more about it.
It's a daunting area when you think about the digital assets space and blockchain being just two microcosms. You have technology and you have finance, where we are already underrepresented, and then you have the confluence of those two things at the intersection of technology and finance. And so helping to demystify the space is certainly the reason that I wrote my book, Digital Money Demystified, but also participating in the groups and the conversations. Once you see, I think this is also why representation matters so much. And for those in the space who are empowered to create those panels and those speaking opportunities, if all they are doing is having a women in crypto panel scheduled at a time with a major keynote, as kind of a castaway or an afterthought, you're not ready. You're not about that life. You're not about inclusion. It's all hat, no cattle. To go with my Texas, my Texas roots. A shout out to my family in Houston, and it just, so that's why it's even more important when we are in leadership roles to lift as we climb. And I don't even want to use that analogy because it makes it seem like kind of top down, when I love kind of the flattened hierarchy or the flattened organization of the way that we come together to share and to receive and to be empowered. A final point here, and I want you to say a little bit more about the importance of being a lifelong learner. I am a lifelong learner. You've mentioned it earlier in our conversation. And I find that those who lean in with an open mind and an enthusiasm of learning something new, even or especially if it's daunting, is really, really important. So how would you encourage women in particular who might be a little hesitant, or maybe they're tech adjacent, or maybe they're mid-level in their career and kind of stuck in a rut, to reach beyond that as a matter of being a lifelong learner?
Well, I would say this, advocating for women in general. The future is yours and it's up to you on how you want to manage that future. And I don't want to say that not educating yourself is complacent, but it is, because there's a vast world. Either we're educating ourselves on how we can improve ourselves, and we can improve our, sometimes there's problems with, I want to improve my income, or I want to improve upon my appearance, or I want to improve on, how I manage my time. All of that are aspects of through learning, right? And if anything you think of that you want to improve of, more likely income, then think about opportunities to amplify yourself and get yourself in front of it by learning more about the solution instead of focusing on the problems. And what I found just in my personal experience, when I was in my career, I was one of those kind of people. I would, on the weekend, instead of watching a movie, I would be learning,
Right.
Or taking a certificate or doing a course, because what I learned in that industry, or by taking those certificates in my industry, is that that's a $30,000 increase every time on your paycheck. And by putting that into practice and getting those raises, I said, okay, wait a minute. I got all this knowledge now. Let me see what I can increase for myself. Do I want to do I want to just get a paycheck now, or do I want to get a lump sum that I can monetize and maximize my future with and my children's future with? Do I want some generational wealth now? That's the
Yeah.
question that everybody should ask themselves. Do I want to keep asking, or is there going to be a time when I could do for myself? And if you're asking yourself those questions, then you're already ready to put yourself in a better position. And that's what I just think in general. Education means putting myself in a better position, whether it's physically, mentally, or financially. It depends on your goals. But overall, you still have to learn about it in order to be able to do it.
It's such a powerful reminder and a bit of encouragement for folks to really lean in to this idea of upskilling and reskilling and preparing for, I call it when I'm doing my advisory and consulting work, preparing to pivot to whatever that next thing is. And always being the smartest person in the room because we have this vast amount, just there's no shortage of information. We are in a post information age. Now it's about cultivating and curating and learning a little about a lot, but also taking a deep dive to leverage your existing expertise and understanding the disruptive impact of this technology on what you already know. It's how I entered the space when I didn't know about the magic internet money at the time.
I was
Almost,
going to say,
I didn't
Dr.
know,
Evans,
right? I didn't know,
you really struck a chord just now, because let me
right?
just say this.
Talk to me.
Last thing, please. If I'm 41, I'll reveal my age.
Let's go. I got some age on you, but yeah, yeah.
But let me tell you, and you too, right? You got a little age on me, but if you had just a fraction of what was available to you right now, as far as AI and technology and streams of income, I know for a fact I'll probably already be running the gamut at 18
Absolutely.
because
Absolutely. Game over. I run the table. I'm in Bora Bora.
I'll
Holla
be
at
on
me.
vacation right now. I'll
Right.
already
I'm going,
be
going.
retired.
Going, going.
No more work. So I feel that with that being said, there is kind of like a cognitive dissonance about what we have provided for us today. Do
Mm,
you understand? Do you even understand what's provided to you? Do you understand how much time you're wasting scrolling? Stop scrolling and do so, if you want to fix something, fix it. This is a time when you can point out, even if you look at a flaw in yourself, you
mhm.
could point out that flaw and you could say, I could just go to the gym, or I can fast, or I could do whatever I want to do to fix this flaw. It's the
Mhm.
same thing you could do with your career, essentially.
Absolutely. I feel like it's such an exciting time. It's such an exciting time. You mentioned AI in particular. My productivity is off the charts. It allows me, I think, artificial intelligence, large language models, the chat GPTs of the world, are most empowering to those who are an expert in a particular field and would benefit from a conversation, an iterative and generative conversation to brainstorm, to pick, sometimes I'm coming up with something as simple as I need a title for this article. I'm out. I got no more creativity. It's 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
Um, help
yeah.
me to brainstorm, but you also have to be smart and savvy enough to know when things are coming back to you that are inaccurate. It doesn't replace your ability to research, but and more quickly. I love the interaction. I've built my own chatbot as well. I've trained it on my teaching, on my articles, on my all of my research. So I'm basically talking to myself, only a better version that
And
continues
I'm
to
training
learn
an
and
AI
grow.
assistant.
Right. It's just
Assistant.
and so when you think of that, if to your point, if we had that back in the day, it's game over. Because we're already doing, and we were talking about women and people of color, black and brown folks, and when you have the intersection of the intersectionality of race and gender, right? This idea of already doing more with less,
Thank you. Yeah, exactly.
then I'm really about the more with more. This is where I am at this moment in time. So as we kind of looking at the clock, I could talk to you all day. Definitely have to have you back. Given what we're talking about now, what is your advice for aspiring blockchain professionals, knowing that we have all of this information, but also the challenge of separating fact from fiction, and going back to what you said earlier about trusted resources and sources. Given all of that and the kind of point of view of this conversation, advice for aspiring blockchain professionals who may not think of themselves as blockchain professionals. Like let's advocate for that.
Well, I would say number one, let's get in the room and start networking. Getting in myself and get outside of yourself too, outside of yourself and your negative thoughts because you don't think, you're already thinking, I don't think I'm big enough to get into this room. Start going to some events. Start looking at some local chapters, of interest. Maybe your thing is mining, or maybe your thing is the technology in itself. Start looking at communities that support this, because that's what blockchain is built upon, community. Once you get into your community, then start looking for ways that you can help your community, be of service to your community, because that is where the opportunity comes when you're of service. Believe it or not, I believe that's how I became who I am today, by just saying, what can I help do, rather than how can I make some money? Well, I'm not going to get paid for that, so stop looking at the monetary for a second and just think about getting into the community and making yourself known in the community. Then everything else will follow. And then the last thing I will impart to everyone is to ensure that you are looking at trusted resources. Ensure if you feel that the resource isn't right, or maybe you're a Bitcoin investor, or maybe you want to invest in cryptocurrency, why don't you talk to somebody in the industry before you answer that Telegram message? Source somebody out before you make the mistake of putting your money into something. And then if you've already put your money into something and you feel like you've been duped, don't be afraid to be verbal about it and speak up about it, so that it can help somebody else, because I feel that is happening a lot more often. And then get to know different scams like pig butchering and things of this nature, and try to find out what's happening in regulatory information sense, because you want to be sure that what you're getting ready to do. Are you committing a crime or whatever you're getting ready to do? You want to just kind of be abreast of what's happening with the industry.
I find that the more information and education you have, the less likely you are to be taken advantage of. You know, there is someone who shall remain nameless that says, I love the poorly educated. And that is true of scammers who only have to be right once. We have to be right every single time.
Every single time.
So there's strength in community, and there's strength in education. And also the optimism of lifelong learning. Greatest opportunity since, the digital age boom. And when I think of Silicon Valley and internet, and when you go back to computing, and before that, when you think of the various stages of industrial ages, we are in the fourth industrial revolution. And now without the systemic barriers. So the barrier to your entry point and your success will be your willingness and your ability to navigate from a place of power and empowerment. And Adilah, that's why I love so much what you're doing. Talk to us as we close out. Certainly any final words, as I'm waving my church fan, and I know that you are feeling me too. What our audience can do for those who are eager to dive deeper into managing their digital assets, getting into the crypto space or the blockchain space as well, and certainly any discounts on your consulting services that you might want to share.
Absolutely. Well, one of which I want everybody to understand that the world is changing. There's no doubt about it. And we have to be comfortable with change. And being comfortable with change means that you have to understand what's changing and how it's going to impact you. And what I'm doing for a lot of people who are interested in cryptocurrency, or people who are currently holding cryptocurrency and they're not sure if they're going to be implicated with tax, I'm giving them consulting services to basically look at their portfolios to see if there's going to be any tax implications. We've been helping a lot of clients basically recover from having to pay the IRS because their taxes weren't done properly.
Right.
So I'm willing to look at tax portfolios at a discount rate and helping them to see if they have any implications and see about getting them any type of help that they need and call upon those resources. Second, I'm helping with wallet management services. And really what that means is that if you have a very large wallet portfolio or even a smaller wallet portfolio, I'm basically helping you to understand some strategies, how you can benefit and maximize on, not trade, because I don't really do crypto trading.
Same.
I just do hygiene and ensuring that you're currently up to date on regulatory standards. If you're an organization and your organization is a strategy of implementation to be able to look at your transactions and manage them, basically I'm partnered with Bitwave, and maybe we can get you some services to better help your situation so you can file tax. So I'm all about making sure people are in compliance, but most importantly, ensuring that they're able to file taxes without the negative implications of them having to owe the IRS.
Mm-hmm.
This is a problem for our crypto holders and people who are trying to get into the industry. And then lastly, anyone who's been frauded, I'm just taking information about that too, because I want to get that reported and escalated and see if I have a resource that would be able to help you with that problem as well. These are the types of things that I do, and it's something I enjoy doing. It's a passion of mine because it's about helping and growing.
Those are really important services. Those are two of the biggest issues in the space, and you don't want to learn it the hard way. Being compliant and paying every cent of tax you owe, not 1 cent more, is the goal. If you have a refund, we've not done it properly, and if you owe a ton, you've not done it properly as well. And there are so few crypto tax experts out there, but at the end of the day, your name is at the bottom of that 1040 in the United States. And so understanding whether you need LIFO, FIFO, or HIFO to maximize that in and of itself is not legal or financial advice. Go holler at
No, it's not.
Adilah for these services. And then the second thing that she's mentioned, if you've been defrauded or feel that you have, then we need to cast light on what's going on in the dark, because your story will also empower others, and then you will be more prepared for the next time. And you need an advocate to navigate the complexities about the proper agency or law enforcement folks in order to make a claim. So community, lifelong learning, education is key to really take advantage of this fourth industrial revolution. You have trusted partners. Adilah Holivay is one of those. Adilah, thank you so much for joining us today on Tech Intersect. I want to have you back to talk in particular about those last two topics. I think you're going to help a lot of people. And so I want to amplify your services and the opportunities that folks have in the space.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. I will drop all of the links that we've mentioned in the show notes so that you can follow up accordingly. Until next time, be good to yourself and others. Take care.